Let's go live now to the economics editor at The Australian, Adam Creighton. Adam, good to see you. The RBA will hand down its decision, first decision of the year at 2:30 this afternoon. Rates are expected to remain on hold, but Adam, we're always looking and reading between the lines as to what the RBA might do next month. So what are you keeping an eye out for today?
Yeah, certainly. Look, the Reserve Bank Board has had its 2 months off for summer. It's the first meeting of the year today. There is actually a slim chance, well, actually not so slim, I mean 25% if you look at market pricing, that the board will actually cut rates today. And I think you certainly couldn't rule that out. I mean, if you take a step back, the unemployment rate is still quite a bit higher than the Reserve Bank would like it to be. It's 5.1%. The RBA said it would like it to be 4.5%. The rate of inflation, of course, just as it has been, is still below the 2% target. That's something like 1.7%. And of course, now there's the spectre of the coronavirus hanging over the economy. So I would not actually rule out a cut today. But that said, you're quite right. The overall expectation is that they won't move, but pretty much with 100% certainty they'll cut over the next few months. So the bigger picture is still a cut. And of course, the issue there is, what it means for house prices. Firstly, that seems to be the biggest impact that interest rate cuts have. They ratchet up house prices, and of course that raises affordability concerns. I mean, the 3 cuts we saw last year, which especially towards the end, were pretty controversial. Didn't really seem to have much of an impact on the real economy. So it does really, kind of beg the question whether another rate cut would actually do much for household consumption or confidence.
Yeah, OK, well, that's a good thing. Hopefully the RBA is taking that into account. Do you think there'll be much consideration about the coronavirus and the bushfire crisis we saw over the summer? These are things, I guess, the RBA can get a bit of a better hold on. The coronavirus maybe less so, though.
Well, actually, look, I'd actually probably say the reverse there. I think the bushfire crisis, well certainly that's weighed on the media far more here, and it's been a very tragic event. Certainly, I think from a macroeconomic point of view, it's not really going to have a huge impact on GDP growth. Say, in fact, you might even get stronger GDP growth because of the bounce, because of the somewhat perverse way growth is measured sometimes. But certainly the coronavirus, I would say, would be worrying them more because it's just so unpredictable. Look, a week ago, I think on this program, I said I wouldn't be too worried about it because it wasn't as deadly as the SARS virus and it was likely to be contained. But it seems that in the week since, it's grown very rapidly, and it really is affecting stock markets and growth outlooks for all the countries in the region, of course, including Australia. A number of economists have come out and said that they do expect it to hit growth here, and it's just so unpredictable, basically, what it does to to human dynamics. I mean, just to give you one example, at the train station this morning, I was sitting there. It must have been 6:15, and I sneezed twice, and there was no one around me, probably for 15 metres. But then someone 20 metres away screamed at me, saying that I should have covered my mouth. And it just reminded me that people basically go crazy when there's a prospect of an epidemic, even if it's not particularly deadly.
Well, you've had a bit of a weird morning then, Adam Creighton. cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, please.
Exactly.
Just finally, before we let you go, we see Josh Frydenberg on the weekend in an interview on the ABC talking about the state of the economy, now talking about a balanced budget rather than a surplus. We haven't seen any of those back in black ads rolled out all recently. But look, it's interesting that the posturing going on here. Labor really doesn't want to let the government, in its words, get away with blaming the bushfire crisis and the coronavirus on perhaps just getting back into balance. They say the economy was weakening way before then. Is that right?
Well, look, no, I don't think that is right. I think certainly the coronavirus does give the government a political leave pass not to have a surplus. Also the bushfires, of course. But I do think that they certainly would have had one. I mean, the reality is the iron ore price is still very high. Look, it's actually fallen $10 a tonne over the weekend, but it's still about $80, which is well above what the budget was forecasting back in December. So those strong resource export prices, I think, would have produced a surplus of about $5 billion. Look, I mean, I still think on balance there'll be a small surplus this year, maybe $1 or $2 billion. But look, certainly you're right. The government has been playing down the prospects, and indeed they would be closer to the information, obviously, through Treasury. But I mean, the bigger issue is whether it's a small surplus or a small deficit. Look, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the fact is, and I wrote in a column today in The Australian, there's basically no reform going on at a federal level in this country, which is very disappointing. So I'd encourage people to
read. Adam, thank you. Good to talk to you. Bit truncated today. The Nationals are taking over.
That's all right.